into it, let's really understand what this is about. So as I said, we're going very, very specific. Comms planning is a very broad role. Today, the one document that I want to kind of look at in more detail is the comms framework. We're not going to look at consumer journeys. We're not looking at research tools. We're not looking at the blueprint, idea formula, ecosystems, or how you storify out an idea. It's very specific on comms frameworks. So to begin with, let me tell you why you use this, and maybe you understand and have seen this problem yourself. So the very first thing is I often find that a lot of agencies, and this happened when I was at my first agency back in Sydney, where we wanted to play a bigger role for the client. The client, we were a production agency, and the client just always would, we were kind of the bottom, we were the runt of the litter, though we had like directors and editors and producers in-house. And so any projects the creative agency didn't want, which were below them, they'd be like, oh yeah, here you go, TCO. That was the name of the agency. You can take that. And so we're given all the kind of smaller jobs that no one else wanted. And what we realized is that was limiting our opportunities. And what a comms framework would do would actually open up those opportunities. So that's one problem that it was solving for. The second one was when your work feels really disconnected from the other partners, and we've all been there, it's so painful. You know, the media agency come back with a complete different media plan to the creative, or you're the social agency and the creative agency have just got this fantastical like TV ad. Like, how does this all connect? How do all these pieces work? Or maybe we're the direct response agency and it looks completely different, or Shopper looks different from the TV. This comms framework helps align all these parties. Then the last one is when the client expects way too much of one ad. And I'm going to show you when this happened to me, and we all see it, like a client asking for way too much things in the piece. And so that is actually what happened to me when I was at BBH. So after that year of kind of like debilitating imposter syndrome, and I started to grow, and the agency were like, Julian, you're on one. You know what you're doing. We want to make you head of comms planning. We've got this big pitch we're doing for PlayStation. This is going to change the agency. If we win this, we're going to be on a new trajectory. Great news is we won the account. We lost 8 pitches in a row. This was the one we won. And I was so excited because I'm like, oh my God, here we go. This is why I moved to New York to work on global brands and amazing work. And I was so excited. So here I was with the other strategist in my team, Kendra and Sarah Watson, who was the chairman of BBH. And we're about to make the work for PlayStation. And the very first script we wrote, the creative director knocked it out of the park. He is like a genius. He's now head of chief creative officer at DDB, the other chief creative officer for global for Grey. So these guys were the top of the top. They had this script for a game called Second Son, which was one of the first PlayStation games coming out after we'd won the account. And they literally had us in tears. Like we just felt so much emotion from this script. And we're like, oh my God, they're pulling at all the heartstrings. And we went in to the client presentation. We were so excited because we're like, we've won this. We've got this. We're going to make an amazing piece. We're going to go to Cannes. We're going to be drinking rosé in Cannes in like 6 months. Let's go. So we present the spot, and we look to the marketing director, and he says, oh, I love that spot. It's a really great spot, but where are the awards? Because we won all these awards, and I'm wondering, I don't want to change the script, but I was wondering if the last maybe 5 seconds we can do like the films with all the like Cannes, you know, the Grand Prix winning awards on the screen, so people know that this is a good game. So we'd love that if that's possible. And then secondly, we're doing this for the PS4, not the PS3. So we need to show people the new controller. It's really good, a really good controller. So can we have a little screen where we can have potentially maybe at the end, just up before the screen comes up of that, maybe we can have two kids on a couch, gamers on a couch with the new controllers, because there's a little glow map. So they'll see that it's a new PS4. And yeah, maybe I know your thing's all in live action, so it's all real people, but could we show a bit of the gameplay as well? And so here we were, just completely gutted. We had completely, lost this client. He wanted 3 different messages in a 30-second spot. And what I realized after that meeting is the importance of a comms framework. It can really help you from having too many messages in one spot. And I realized if I had just shown him this communications framework before we had presented that TV script would be alive. That work would have been alive. Everyone would have cried. I would have got my glass of rosé in France. But unfortunately, instead of getting my rosé in France, it ended up in the bin in San Francisco, in the client's office. That script, dead. And that's the importance of the comms framework for me, was in that meeting. I saw it. I saw why it was so important. Because, clients do this. They think you can have 5 messages in a 15-second spot. It never works. You can only have 1 message in one medium. And so this is what a comms framework does. If we'd gone to him and said, hey, your request, you want that reviews. Well, that review is important, but it's only important once people, are hooked into the story, realize that they want more drama in their life, and they see a video game solving that problem. So when they're in the research phase, let's give them that. We'll give them a review in social ads or on your website when we know they're interested. The PS3 v PS4, the new controller, let's tell them that just before they're about to buy on the website or Amazon retargeted banners. But for the TV, when they're not even interested in video games, when they're just living their life, let's change that. Let's have that be that's the TV ad. Let's just keep that as the 30-second spot, because firstly, we've got to hook them in. We've got to get them in. And then we can take them to those different levels. So do you see there, that document, one slide could have firstly alleviated that client's pressure. He can't think of anything else but reviews, controller. He's got that tick box going. If we said, yep, we've got you sorted, but not on your TV ad. Your TV ad, people are just going about their daily lives. They do not care. They don't care about your video game. I don't care about anything. But they do care that their life's kind of a little bit monotonous. They're looking for a little bit more drama, and they know that video games can do that. So we need to play that up. So we could have solved that with this one framework. So that's why the comms framework is so essential. So it solves for a lot of problems, but I just wanted to show that last problem that it solves for. So you're probably asking, when do I do a communications framework? Well, very good question. Where I think the output of the communications framework comes in is, firstly, when we're looking at the client brief and we're getting that first creative brief ready, we want to be taking the comms framework together. And this is a document that I create with the client, the media agency, and the creatives and any other partners who are creating work. And what happens is we create it for the very first time here. But once we have the creative idea, we then rewrite the communication tasks through the lens of the creative idea. So it's a really key document. And the reason it is so essential is it solves all these problems. It solves so many problems, so many headaches and bottlenecks we have. The fact that media and creative are not aligned, this is what it's solving for. The fact you don't feel like you're getting great work, you're just a silo over here. It brings everyone together. It helps clear the work, clarity around work. So that's why it's so prized for an agency. When I was at TCO, at that smaller production agency, doing the comms framework actually allowed us to we went from project work to getting on a retainer with Nestle, Coca-Cola, fosters. Because what we had shown is, hey, guys, I know you want us to do this one thing over here, but let us be your partner to help show how you create an integrated campaign. And we're going to do that through this communications framework. We're going to help you do that at the start of the process. And you know what that did? It gave us eyes into the pipeline. What work was going to be created? And then for our content agency, it allowed us to take more projects. So that's why agency leaders love this, because they're seeing it, especially if you're at a project-based agency, a social agency, a small agency, a digital creative who's just seen as the TV agency. This gets you upstream. This gets you further upstream and controlling that conversation. And so very valuable for an agency. They see it as a very pivotal piece because you're starting to increase their pipeline, increase the amount of production that you can be doing on the back end. Very essential. Gives you that control. The thing about it is I wish it was easy. I wish everyone could do it. But the reason that not many people can and why it's so prized and so valuable is because it's bloody hard to get right. It is very, very hard to get right. And I'm not going to, I'm going to go through the process today and the theory, but you're not going to be able, like maybe you are going to be able to nail it after, an hour, but I don't think so. There's a lot of theory. You got to practice this a lot. Now, I'm going to show you a lot of junk examples. Now, a lot of people, this is an ugly slide. This is not how you do a comms framework. Too much shit going on. This is, to me, I look at this and I say, this is a dumping ground for strategy musings. It's not that. It's never, a lot of people think that, and a lot of people use them like that. They're like, oh, we don't know what's happening, or we're taking in a lot of different people's opinions, and let's just have one document, an ecosystem document that takes all this stuff in. Bullshit, not how we play. That's not how we do comms framework. And you're going to get found out. If you bring this to the client, it's just making them more confused. I don't know what to do with this. Oh yeah, lots of boxes on pages. Doesn't make me feel like I understand what's happening. That is not what we're doing with comms frameworks. What a comms framework is very simple. It's one page that aligns the different consumer problems, messages, and media channels, creating an integrated campaign. Once again, different consumer problems, messages, and media channels. So simple. That, not simple. That, a lot of shit happening in there. I'm not saying that as simple. That, simple. Problems, messages, media channels. Let's go through an example. I love this example. Everyone loves it. I've done creative briefs off this example. Everyone riffs on it. It's great. It's a great campaign. If you don't know it, it's one of my kind of central ones that I always talk about, which is Spotify wanted to attract a Gen X audience. This is the older people who felt they're starting to feel a little irrelevant. So what they found was Gen Xers were spending the most money on music, but the least on subscriptions, online digital subscriptions. And what they worked out was when people looked at Spotify, they thought, oh, that's just for cool new young music. That's not for me. And they realized there was an insight that as soon as you turn 34, you start listening to more old music than music that came out in the last year. So I had this great campaign, Listen Like You Used To. Now, a lot of people would look at this campaign and say, you're just seeing it at the surface level of like, oh, amazing out-of-home boards. No, there's a lot more to it. Like, yeah, great out-of-home boards, that's one part of the puzzle. But if you're a creative agency and that's all you can do, your retainer is getting smaller and smaller every single year. If you can only do TV ads and you can't do anything else, your retainer is getting smaller and smaller every year. So what a comms frameworks does is it shows us the whole picture. So again, let's dive into this, pull it apart. So we've got 3 different levels here. When people are living their life, when people are looking and going about, when they're actually researching and thinking about music, and then buying. And then what we've got is barriers, problems, comms task, messages, channels, media. Again, very simple. None of that bullshit of strategy musings that I showed you earlier. Simple, simple, simple. So when we look at the barriers, this is thinking about the barriers that they are having at that moment in their life. So when they're living, so this is the big one that a lot of, I think, digital agencies and social people just miss. They disconnect. They don't get this. That a lot of advertising happens when people do not give a shit about you or your product. They're not researching it. They're just living their life. So what you've got to do here is you're tapping into a bigger place, a bigger emotion. What will resonate? What will get people, spark people's interest? So the bigger thought there is when you're turning 34, 35, you're starting to feel like culture's moving past you. You don't get it. You're like, TikTok? What? I don't get why people are doing this. I'm starting to feel irrelevant, and it's a shitty feeling. I'm pointing to myself because I'm in there. But that's a really weird tension because you've always been the cool person. You've always had your finger on the pulse. Now you're starting to not get it. There's this internal tension. When people are looking for music, so yes, this is when you're actually starting to research. Okay, I'm listening to music. Maybe on the radio, when people are looking for listening to music, that's the moment they don't hear the songs they love anymore. So turn the radio on. Oh my God, what is all this shit? It's not the music I love. That's the problem there. But then when they're in the buying moment, that's when they're online, when they're just about to buy. What message do you need to tell them? That's totally different. You know, when we think up to living, to buying, totally different messages there. Like if you told me your music is still relevant today, when I'm just about to buy, it's like, what the hell what are you saying? Like what? No, I've got specific requests. I want to know if you've got my specific songs on your platform. So you can see the problems change. Problems change. We're not saying the same message all the time. And this is the creative agency mistake, and we'll talk about it in a minute. When creative agencies look at integrated campaigns, they think matching luggage. They go, boom, 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 let's make everything the same. They get the mistake. The message is not always the same. What you're saying is not always the same. Your creative idea, you have one idea, but then you've got different messages. And so here we see it. We see that campaign we saw up the top. Your music is still relevant. That was the message that they were giving people. They're like, And you know, the other thing they gave is, hey, Spotify understands you. We understand your music. We got your music. That's the subtle cues that are happening there. But then when they went into research, when they had to do the communications on Spotify homepage, they were looking at people who were doing reviews. They were doing when people Googled it and people were listening to radio, because that was where they were listening to other alternatives. The message was enjoy old songs in new ways. You know, you need to talk about the new technology, things you loved. But then when they're in the buying moment, further down here, they have my specific song, 80s and 90s playlists. I had the biggest music collection. That's what I need to hear. When I'm just about to buy, I need to hear that you've got the 80s and 90s playlists. I don't need to hear old songs in new ways. You already told me that. I already know that. I'm past that. I'm just about to buy, but what do I need to hear? And that's on the Spotify subscription page and retargeted ads. So you see, there's a lot more messages that we need to kind of get in there. So I want to get into the next phase. So that's a campaign. I've kind of broken down 2 comms frameworks. Now I want to talk to you about the living, looking, buying, which is the 3 phases. There's 2 things that we're going to talk about today. The theory, that we're talking about theory now. Why have I chosen living, looking, buying? Well, the first thing is that I like everything to be consumer-centric. Comms planning is all around being consumer-centric. You'll never hear from me. It's never business-centric. And this is where a lot of strategists who are not confident hide behind business jargon and business problems. Hide behind there. If you're working in creative development, that doesn't matter. What matters is from the consumer's point of view. You need to understand their tensions, their problems. So words like awareness. I don't think that's ever a consumer's problem. That's the business problem. You will never, ever see the word awareness in a creative brief from anyone that I work with, anyone in the Plain and Dirty Academy, because they know as soon as you've written, we need to increase awareness, bing, 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 light goes off. That's a business problem, not a consumer problem. Consumers do not give a shit about business problems. No one cares that you're not aware of Ben & Jerry's new flavor. What they care about is that midnight snack that they're feeling guilty for, or whatever it is. That's what they care about, and that's the messages that they want to hear. So for me, I never liked awareness, consideration, purchase, because I believe it's from a business perspective. What I like, and this isn't a big one, like if you need to go back to that and that's how your business works, I understand that. If you want to use a comms framework with awareness, consideration, purchase, go ahead. If that's how I'll sell in your business, that's always the caveat for me. Whatever helps sell you through the work. But what I love is living, looking, buying. And the reason I love these three is that living really speaks to the mindset that we've got to get into and the problems that we're trying to solve. Living, no one cares about your brand. No one cares. You're interrupting people. We're interrupting people. Like TV ads, they're interrupting. No one's ever looking for a TV ad, maybe except for the Super Bowl. No one cares about your ads. Looking, okay, well now I'm looking for the product. I'm interested. Spotify, I'm trying to find music. I'm researching music or the video game. Second Son, I'm interested in the video game. And then buying in the moment. And that's the thing, we need different messages at different times. So like for a car purchase, you've got people not caring about your product or category. So that's when they're living. When they're looking phase, they're actively looking about the category. So they're actively looking at cars. Maybe they're going out for the test drive. When they're about to buy, they are in the dealership. They're talking to the sales staff. And so you think there, the sales staff probably talks about the insurance policy, the mileage, really specific details, the warranty. Now, if you said that in a TV ad, make no sense. No one cares. It'd just be like, how relevant is that? But if you talk about a message like in a car ad about freedom and what a car can give you, or adventure if you're like a Jeep, that's the message that resonates because it spikes up their ears. It's talking to a bigger problem that's in their life. So that's how we set up a comms framework. The living, looking, buying is really important there. So in this, the comms framework, the theory is that often, if we look at who deals with what in here, the living is often done by the creative agency or the above the line agency. They're the ones creating the TV ads and maybe the billboards, the things that are going to interrupt. Now, if you come from a social or digital agency, my background was there, you're kind of almost got people who are interested. Maybe you got people who are fans of the product already buying it. They're interested, they're researching the category. Or if you're on web team, they're already interested. So they're in the looking and buying phase. Now, I want to tell you about the two big mistakes that I see here. This McKinsey graph, the consumer journey, this is what I see time and time again from digital agencies and people who are too in the weeds, is that they create the wrong consumer journeys. They create the wrong comms frameworks and the wrong consumer journeys because they automatically think the people are interested in the product to begin with. But that's not the case. We know that's not the case. But here you look at this, wrong, error. No one's constantly in a loop. No one's constantly in a loop for buying a car insurance. No one's actively evaluating cars, every single day. And then post-purchase experience, maybe they're doing that. And then they're in it again. They're in the loyalty loop and they're always interested in cars. Bullshit. No one's interested in cars all the time. I'm interested in a car once every 9 years. So this model is really bad. And here's an example. Trash, absolute trash, again, from a comms framework perspective. Engage and experience, deepen the involvement, hero involvement. All this is suggesting people are just waiting. They're bated breath, waiting for the next information from an agency. It's wrong, wrong, wrong. You're missing the biggest bit. Now, this might work if you want to just be the digital agency, or you just want to be the guys who, once they're interested, get in there. But you're missing the bigger piece. You're missing the integrated picture. And this is what we often see digital and startup brands. They are always in the weeds and always making very lower funnel work. And they really struggle to work out, okay, well, the very first task is you need to get people when they're in that living phase, and you need to, as soon as they do start thinking about a brand or do start thinking about buying a car, you need to be in that consideration set. And that's what advertising does, puts you in the consideration set. Now, on the other side of the fence, the ad agency blind spot is that they think that advertising is all communications. It's not. Brand covers all communications. Advertising is not all communications. Advertising is only that very first spot. If we're talking about mass media advertising that's going out to a lot of people, as we've seen, that's only the living phase. It's not the looking or the buying. So the question is, and this is what the comms framework delivers on, is who is coordinating all communications? And that's what we do. And that's how we kind of put that all together. So the problem is that from a creative agency perspective, they don't really deal with this too well. They have, the creative agency model is one message and what we often call matching luggage. Everything looks the same. If you ever work with, and this is what my experience was it's like, okay, we've got the idea, we've got the message, now just blanket it everywhere. And the banners would be the same as everything else. And you're like, oh guys, no, we're missing it. Looks like this, absolute junk. It's like the comms plan. Let's make Sprite over everything. Let's put it the same billboard here. Let's get the, TV ad, and we're just going to have, LeBron James slam dunk on everything, every piece of communication. No, guys, no, missing the point. So I want to go through this now. Let's do it as an exercise. Let's see if we can do this ourselves. So I'm going to take a brand, Seamless. The problem with Seamless and food delivery, if anyone's been in the food delivery world, what we often see is that they have very lower funnel messaging. $5 off, delivery, free delivery, your food is here, easy food ordering. Everything was a race to the bottom within this world. Now, what we saw was with Seamless's campaign, How New York Eats, they were able to elevate that up. They were able to come up with this amazing campaign that I love, which elevates it up. This was done by BBH after I was there, actually, and really just brought the category up into that living phase. Everything else before this, we're seeing this is messages that would make sense if I'm just about to buy a burger. Yes, got it. Give me a bit of food porn. Yes. When I'm hungry, that makes sense. Yes. This shows a bigger message. So great campaign here. Cooking is so Jersey. How New York Eats. The L train may be shut down, but we won't. Delivery apps. You made rent, celebrate by not making dinner. It was all about New Yorkers, about how they feel. So Seamless, if we think about the moment, what is the moment that they're in their living? And this was a campaign for New York. So their campaign was they're going about their life, New York life, when not eating. Now, what I want you guys to do is tell me, when would they be looking? So I'm going to give you 30 seconds. When would they be in the looking phase? Tell me what's the moment. Explain what they're doing. And then the last one, I'll give you the hint. When they're buying, they've chosen what they want to eat and they're on the app and website. So tell me, what are they doing in the looking phase? I'll give you 30 seconds, and I want to, once you've done 30 seconds, I'm going to look in the chat window. So put it in the chat window. What do you think people are doing when they're in the looking phase? 30 seconds, add it to the chat window. Also, I don't know what this line is on the screen, so apologies about that. Okay, we've got some here. Coming back from work was Leah. Drew, 3 p.m, planning dinner. Yes. The looking phase, they're hungry or planning a meal. Correct. They're on their way home, arguing with their significant other about where they ate. Probably wrapping up work. Nicole, yes. Search, Brad. No, it's probably not search. That'd be the media environment. We're thinking more here, mindset level. Taylor, walking, commuting. I would say you want to bring it a little bit closer to the mindset there. On the way home, they're considering what to have for dinner. Yep, James, that's correct. Having a beer or two, kind of correct. When they are hungry and too lazy to get out of the apartment. Archana, that's correct. So you kind of want it in the moment, like what is their head? Because remember, they're in that looking phase. So you guys have got it. You just need to be on the mindset a little bit more. So they're getting hungry for dinner or lunch. That is the moment that they're in. So if you've got that, that's right. I'm just going to read a couple more. Kitchen, Raphael. Yep, you probably want a little bit more information on the mindset here than just what they're doing. So speaking about that, Matt, social and Spotify. That again, media moments. We'll get to that in a minute. Henderson, I don't know what the fuck to eat. Yeah, you probably got it there. So again, we just want to know what the moments they were in. Now, I want to stop there for living, looking moments. Does anyone have any questions of what we just went through? Because it's really essential. To me, living, looking, buying moments are essential. So I really want to make sure we've got this. Does anyone have any questions about that before I go on? I'm just going to look up a little bit further to see if there's any questions. This is my second laptop that I'm doing here, guys. I don't know if it's working. Looks like they're hungry. Yeah. Okay. Archana asks, looking and buying, could they be one and the same sometimes? Yeah, correct. So one of the things, Archana, that I look at is with the length of the consumer journey. And if you look at the FCB grid, definitely check that out. It says high emotion, low emotion, long-term involvement, short-term involvement. You usually have much more condensed periods. So something like a soft drink is going to have a very condensed buying and researching moment, where something which is a longer journey, so something like insurance, that is going to be way longer. When are budgets, Simon, when are budgets negotiated in the framework or in the separate document? So the document after this, which I look at, which is called the blueprint, is the document where I do the allocation of budget. Usually I'll be working with the media agency, and it will be 90% of the media will dictate how much we're investing in each column. But what I use is to work out the production budget, 90% goes to media, 10% goes to me. James, do you ever support living, looking moments with data supported insights? 100%. This is all coming from insights. And I guess what I didn't do today is, before this, and anyone who's in the academy will know, we'll do consumer journeys, and that will inform the comms frameworks. I hate doing consumer journeys that don't end in a comms framework. So that's the way that all that information goes. And I find a lot of people find that easy. But I never do a consumer journey on just for itself. It's always to inform this living, looking, buying phase. And then what comes after buying? What comes after buying? That's usually the experience with the product. So it might be with the product team, and then there might be another phase, if you want, with how we complement them. But I've often found that as the comms agency, you're not dealing with that step too much, or at least there's not much budget there. The other thing is that a lot of people often ask, what, like, why don't we have more phases in the journey? Because you've seen it. You've seen those horrible graphs with like 8 steps in the consumer journey. What a waste of time, because you've never got enough budget. I've worked for the biggest brands like AT&T, got the biggest creative budget going around. We would never try to go past the 3 phases, because anytime we did, we said, oh, there's 8 steps to the journey. You never have enough budget. You never have enough people, and you never got enough budget. That's why 3 or 4 steps in a journey is maximum for me. It's just a waste of everyone's resources if you think there's 8 steps in the journey that you can address as the agency as well. Okay, let's keep going on to the benefits ladder. So the other thing, so what we've talked about now is living, looking, buying. We've gone down that side column. So you know that there's those 3 phases that I like. You can call them whatever you want. I don't really care, but there's usually about 3 to 4 phases. Along the top, what did we talk about? Barrier, comms, task, channel. Now, if you're a brand planner, you get this. This will be ringing bells for you. Barrier, if you like the get, who, to, buy, barrier is the who. It's the consumer problem. The buy statement in the get, who, to, buy, the comms, task, the solution. So again, we've got the problem, we've got the solution here. Great, really tight in here. Then the channel. Now this is so important. You guys came up with some great examples of channels that would make sense at those moments. They are what I would have in there in that final column of the channel. The location, where is the best place to say or do this? And what we're looking at is scale and relevance. And this is important because what we're doing is we're bringing the media agency in with us here. And that's the biggest problem. Media, creative, just divert, go away from each other. So that's what we're doing. It's such a beautiful, so beautiful in its simplicity, this graph. 9 boxes, that's all we need to fill. Problem, solution, channel. Simple. Now the thing that I do, and this is, I don't see many other comms, I don't see many people actually going the length of explaining comms frameworks in any level of detail. But what I love and what I've connected is the comms framework to the benefit ladder. And I look at the benefit ladder on 2 sides. Now, and I don't know if anyone else does this. If you do, let me know in the comments as well. But I've got living, looking, buying, which is our 3 levels. And the interesting thing is the way I look at a benefit ladder is, if anyone's familiar with it, a benefit ladder goes up your product feature, your functional benefit. So what's the benefit in the moment? And then the emotional benefit. What is that then leading to a higher ordering? And I love this. I love it because it ladders right directly into the buying, looking, living. Your messages align perfectly with those 3. It makes it super tight. You got a super tight one in here. And then on the other side is the barriers, the problems. So at every step, you've got this beautiful interplay. What's the problem? What's the solution? So you're always in your comms framework, you always got a really good relationship between your problem, your solution. So let's go back to an example and see how this works. So the Spotify example, let's look at the problems that they had. At the very bottom, does it have the songs I love though? I'm going to buy this, but is it the songs I love or is it just for cool kids, new music? The looking problem was radio doesn't play the songs I like. Like I'm just bloody sick of it. Radio, this is happening to me right now. In Australia, Triple J is not playing the music I love on radio station. But the top one is, what's that all doing? I'm listening to the radio, culture's moving past me. I'm starting to feel irrelevant and I don't like it. The solution at every level is the product feature. So what are the actual tangible features of the product? Because by that stage, you've solved, you sold me on the living, you sold me on the looking, and now I'm in the buying phase. So you can see here, then laddering up. If this was a journey on the other side, like cover one side of it, 80s, and do I have the songs that I like? The message we say in the buying moment in retargeted banners are 80s and 90s music library. Got to tell them that. Boom, 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 boom. Drill that in. Radio doesn't play the songs I like. We're drilling in there, listens to songs in new ways. And then feeling irrelevant. Oh, the feeling of relevance. Spotify's telling you your songs, the lyrics, still very relevant to today. Let's practice this in an exercise. Okay, back to the seamless exercise. I want to see you guys answer in the comments. If we're in the barrier, what are different consumer problems that we could have here in the looking phase? So they're getting hungry for dinner and lunch. What are potential problems that they could be having here? You've got 30 seconds, and I'd love you to start putting them in the comments. So give yourself 30 seconds. Got a bit of break here. Put them in. Excellent. 10 more seconds. Just throw them in the comments. Would love to see them. Okay, John, you're fantastic there. I'm too drunk to cook. Yeah, probably. Probably. That's good. Can't decide. Nothing to cook. No time to cook. Brad, perfect. That's great. Too many options. Nicole. Time to make food, price, convenience. Yeah, these are all the problems you have when you're hungry. What are the problems you have when you're hungry? Decision fatigue. I have nothing. Julia, I have nothing in the fridge or pantry. Stephanie, no budget. Yeah, when you're hungry, what are the problems here? Don't know what to eat. Have to get something quick before kids' basketball practice. Potential problems. Time starved or trying to impress someone. Joel, you're on it. Wanting to try something new and delicious. James, don't have time to fix dinner. Correct. Guys, we're on it. We're on it. We're getting it. This is correct. 100% correct. I'm seeing answers. They're right. We're right in there. The problem. You're writing these problem statements really well. Too tired to cook. Hungry now, James. Again, I owe it to the family to make them a healthy meal. So maybe that would be, if I was to reword that, James, I would say owe it to the family to make them a healthy meal. It would be something about the guilt as well. Now, the other thing that we've got to remember here is this is the New York life. So we're thinking we would know the target market. We would go out and interview them. We'd work out what the bigger thing is and then the lower. So here, let's look at it. Let's look at it. This is great. Really good, good. In the looking phase, I've got don't have time to cook. But you guys had a lot of great ones in there too. You're just nailing them off the top of your head. We'd go out, you've got enough here. We'd go out and actually test and validate them. Go out, talk to consumers. Is this what they're actually saying? Now, at the very top, remember, this is living phase. What's the bigger problem? What's the bigger thing that's happening in their life? They're exhausted from living in New York. What's that mean when they're actually hungry? When they're hungry, they don't have time to cook. They've got all those shows to go to. They've got the basketball to go to. They've got, they're working late. They've got no room in their kitchen to cook, but they're hungry. They've got nothing in their pantry because they don't shop. When they're in the buying phase, they know they're going to go on a delivery app. So here, they don't know if they're going to do delivery app. In the looking phase, that delivery app, they could shop. The choices are much broader. Down in buying phase, choices are very specific. So we've got different pieces there. So what do we do here? We can see the comms task coming through. Again, that living phase, all those great banners, all those great out-of-home boards that I showed you before, they are all showing that New York City grind is a badge of honor. It's like a badge of honor. Like those statements are like, yeah, Jersey can't do this, or very like in the know. The grind is like the badge of honor. It's exhausting, but it's a badge of honor. So what here is it fuels your New York City grind, delivers you New York City foods, best foods in minutes. So again, time was the problem. Delivery, you're getting your food in minutes. Then the final one is, do they have my favorite restaurant? You know, you're down to it. You're thinking Seamless, Grubhub, or DoorDash. Who's got that pad thai that I love? I just need that pad thai. So tell me, if you were to write a functional message here, a solution, I'll give you 30 seconds again. Just write me, what is the solution? What is the solution here? What would be a comms task? And I'll give you 30 seconds again. What is the comms task? Ten seconds. Would love to see your answers. This is the best way. The thing that I always say in the Planning Dirty Academy is like, we got to practice. You got to do these. So if you're just sitting there, not writing anything, you're just kind of like taking it in. You can hear the theory so many times. There's so many webinars, so many strategy webinars you can do. It's not important. You really need to practice. So I would suggest you just write something. Okay, let's look at some answers. James, New York's best foods validated by New Yorkers. Yeah. Carla, we have all of New York's top classics. Love it. You've got, you're in here. You guys get it. Remember, the other thing is we're trying to bring the creative idea, thread it through all of these pieces. And so the thing that I love about Carla's is she's talking about it. Carla and James have said New York's best foods. So we really need to bring that in. Taylor, you're on it too. All your favorite New York foods on one app. Big Apple in a pocket. Explore New York's food, discover new restaurants to love. So Cynthia, I would say maybe not for this one because they've dialed in on their favorite one. That feels like it could be a level up if the problem was about not knowing which foods, but a great solution. Your favorite food restaurants at your fingertips. Emma, that's good. We just try to bring the New York bit in there. All Davika, all top New York City eats. Yep. New York faves, you raves. Tom, love it. That's great, guys. So here we go. Let's look what I've got. Biggest range of New York City restaurants. You guys got this. You're in it. You're on it. You've got it. So yes, that's where we're at. Now, let's put it all together. What does it all look like? Now, this was from Michaela, who is she's a member of the Planning Dirty, or student of the Planning Dirty Academy. She just did the strategy finishing school, which is in the Planning Dirty Academy. But Michaela was the Ducks of that school. We just went through a 4-week program and an absolutely killed it. And the amazing thing is Michaela came in and she's still a student. She's not even a strategist. And she didn't have any of this exercise. I actually pulled everything back from what she had written. She read the strategy paper, which was the award paper that we had in the Planning Dirty Academy. And then she came up with the comms framework with no help. They did not have the comms framework in there. And she did this. And this is what someone did within 4 weeks of being in the academy. And it blew my mind. But the most important thing is we can see it all here together. She's got all the pieces. And the great thing was she also brought in some other pieces, key pieces too here, where she was talking about like the overarching media strategy, which we haven't talked about today, was turn up and surround the moments when people are in their New York City grind. So out of home, when people are commuting, on the subway, they're in commuting, office hours. When are people working long office hours? When people are out at night, let's surround those New York City classic grind moments when it's making you feel fatigued. We've got to bring them up and say, hey, no, you're amazing. You're part of that grind. So she did this, which blew my mind. Amazing. She's connected all these pieces together. So it's something you can definitely learn. and I was really proud of. So here we can see the seamless comms framework all together. I just want to talk to you about a couple of other big errors that I see with comms frameworks. The biggest one is people writing them from the perspective of the business. Here, in the Spotify example, living phase, lack awareness of Spotify with Gen Xers. Ugh, yuck, that's not right. That's not how we write them. What we've learned today is you write it from the consumer problem perspective. You're not writing, don't hide behind that business jargon. You don't need that once you're in a comms framework. You don't need that when you're in a creative brief. Teach all that. But we can see here, that is a big problem that I see with a lot of comms frameworks. But now you know. Now, you've been writing this. We all wrote it together. The other one is the pick and mix framework. I see this from a lot of agencies. Pick a lane. Guys, pick a lane. What are you doing here? Living, buying. You're not picking a lane. You're just telling me all these barriers. What are creatives even meant to do with this? It doesn't help me. Does not help me. Does not help the creatives. Does not help you. The rest of the team, you're saying, oh, these are all the problems. Let's throw them all together. We know that's not the way it happens. We know. We talked about that car. We talked about Spotify. We need different messages at different moments. So don't create the pick and mix. It's wrong.